While other channels are hard at work, making you believe that this entire industry is completely in collapse and there's nothing to be excited about, I say bullshit all that. There's still plenty to be excited about. And today we're gonna talk about some stuff from Singularity Computers. Got another mystery pack. I think it's some water cooling stuff. They've been kind of venturing out into that. When they saw our water cooling setup, they're like, hey, we got some stuff for you to test. And then I was sent this big old thing. For those looking for a high-end custom gaming experience, look no further than Falcon Northwest. Falcon Northwest has been building PCs made for gamers for over 30 years with a focus on a true high-end gaming experience. Custom cases available only through Falcon Northwest feature state-of-the-art testing and design to ensure that every component is performing at their best through thermal imaging and rigorous lab testing designed and overseen by the Falcon Northwest founder himself. With a complete lineup of systems ranging from small to large, every Falcon Northwest system includes a 3-year warranty policy and a year of 2-way overnight shipping coverage, providing the ultimate peace of mind. To see all that Falcon Northwest has to offer, follow the sponsored link in the description below. I'm gonna start here. We'll come back to the big censored box in a second. It is definitely a what the fuck is this type of thing. But that's what I love about Daniel and Singularity Computers and the stuff they come up with. The only downside about getting stuff from them is the amount of bubble wrap and tape I have to fight with. But it comes all the way from down under. We all know how well my Australian accent's gonna fall apart real quick, but the loving, caring hands of DHL. No, this is FedEx. Ooh, I used to work for FedEx. I know exactly how loving their hands are. Wait, that sounds bad. It's like being an altar boy for FedEx. Anyway, moving on. This is a very bespoke box.
So custom, bro.
Hey, when you're shipping stuff from Australia and every cubic inch or centimeter, I guess, matters, you get creative here. Usually it's just a game of can it survive the trip. It goes on an airplane, so it shouldn't be too bad. If it was on a boat, we'd still be waiting for it through 2026. Anyway, the only thing Singularity Computers is missing is actual packaging, okay? I'm just gonna say this right now. It looks like I'm getting kilos of Coke delivered to me. It's just... Let's start with what appears to be obviously radiators. Wow, this is a big boy. Holy.
It's been a minute since we've seen a brand new radiator.
Is this actually a... Yes, it is. Singularity Computers branded Radiators. And this is a 420 right here. Pretty sure it's a 420. Well, what I like about this is look at the sides. So these, I was like, what the hell are these? These are replacement side panels. Oh, it got dented though. Look, we can push that back. That's just the delivery method, unfortunately. I know this isn't gonna be cheap from Daniel, so. This is just a shroud that goes on the radiator, so it can bend easy. Check this out. It's got a fill/drain port built into the rads. Usually you only see that on thick radiators. This appears to be about a 50 mil thick rad. Where's my calipers? 60. It's a 60.
It's double thick.
Yeah, this is twice the thickness. Okay, I'm not tearing my part build to put this in, Daniel. Okay, they're cool, but I'm not redoing my loop again. But this is cool though. Look at this. Look at the size of this guy. This would be a problem for my lower rad though, because where my sensor panel is and the height and all that, if I added more height, it wouldn't work. But holy cow. Okay, so obviously we have these removable side panels here. So this piece right here that says Singularity Computers, I like this too, because if you turn the rad a certain way and it's upside down, you can unscrew it, flip it, and then have the language going the right way. Assuming we're gonna have white and probably gold and probably mirrored, all their typical stuff you would see. I'm assuming these might fit in the mystery thing I showed you guys a second ago. So, right, so here's like a white one. Right, so that'd be kind of neat. You have a two-tone dealy bobber. Okay, that's white. These are all white. But they're made out of like PCB material. That's what's cool about it. They're literally made out of PCB material. So this is just another 420 rad. Thick boy. Okay, I like it. I like it a lot. So in terms of fin density, if I had to guess, I'd say this is right around 20 FPI. I don't know. Which means it's gonna be good for airflow, but also because of its thickness, good for actual cooling. See, FPI or fins per inch is gonna directly be proportional to the resistance of the airflow through the radiator. So if you have less FPI, which means more openness, let's talk about porosity basically of the radiator, so more open airflow, but less of the actual fins, means there's less metal transferring heat, which means less efficiency of the radiator. So you wanna find that sweet spot where you get good airflow through it, but you also get good cooling. And that can sort of be made, you can play around with that formula by not just having FPI, but also the thickness of the rad. So less FPI, thicker rad can get you a pretty good balance of both.
They do look super sus though, packaging wise.
It really does feel sus, like I'm doing a drug deal. It's like, hey, you got the money? Yeah, I don't know if this is 3 of the same thing. I think we're gonna find out here. I always wanna be careful cutting into it because I don't wanna go scratching anything, but Daniel has put so much effort into his product. I'm really, truly surprised he hasn't come up with box packaging yet. You know what I mean? These are water blocks. These are 5090 blocks. These are thermal pads. If that gives you an idea of how heavy this thing is, like the weight of the thermal pads alone is, yeah, this is gonna be a 5090 block, I'm pretty certain. Look at that. Yeah, 5090, it says it right there. I could tell because nobody really is like, I mean, people are making blocks for like 5080s and stuff, but like 5090s is where you start. Look at this. You know what it looks like? It looks like it doesn't matter which way it flows either. Like certain blocks have a flow direction. It really looks like it's just gonna flow either direction because you can see the jet plate right through there. Most blocks you would have it go down the middle of the jet plate and go out either side and then they reconnect later on the outlet. This looks like it can flow either direction, which I don't think is like necessary that we've ever had this split flow design. That is a unique looking water block. So let me see if these are just the same but different style. Like this is obviously plexi and black. These are Astrals, I believe though. These are Astral Blocks. I did receive an email about this stuff, but I forgot. It's been a bit since he sent it to me. Not the product, but the email. Look at that one.
That's a steampunk build for sure.
But it needs to be like a brass or gold.
Yeah,
Der Bauer's got his work cut out for him. I'm just gonna say, this is so awesome to see because water cooling has been on a decline for years. It's like main players have been bowing out and leaving the industry as a whole. But then you got like companies like Singularity and Thermal Grizzly now stepping up going, let's see what we can do as enthusiasts. What I like is that the RGB cable is disconnectable. So the harness plugs in right on the end, which is easy to access. But this one doesn't have it. Yeah, there's no, interesting that it comes with an RGB harness, considering there's no RGB on this block, because see the ends? One has the RGB and one does not. So interesting that this comes with the harness, or at least maybe he just randomly threw it together. There's a UV toggle. So there must be have UV LEDs in here. So if you're doing like a glowing coolant, like a UV reactive coolant, that has a UV mode. That's pretty neat, but this has nothing. So these are the 5090 blocks. These are for the Astral, it says right there. The cool thing is you can go stainless steel like this and go any metal you want. He could do a solid copper too if you wanted here, because I don't think,
like
yeah, cause see the heat plate or the cold plate's up in there. So that's just an aesthetic. It's not touching the coolant. So that could be any metal you want. Yeah, this one here, they seem a little over tightened in the middle because there's like a dip. So I feel like those are a little tight, but that's just because that's the PCB material on top. Okay, so these are the CPU blocks. We can see we still have the same sort of this is more shiny nickel plated than the back plate that's on the, or front plate, I guess, technically that's on the 5090 block. I kind of wish these two matched, to be honest. That's the only problem I see so far with these is this sheen is much more shiny than this. It's neat looking though. We got a black CPU block and then a white CPU block, which I'm not gonna lie, I cannot unsee Jason Voorhees in this, which might have been a really neat like Halloween themed build, but it's gonna kill, ma, if you're not paying attention. It needs little red triangles now. Okay, I'm gonna show you the CPU water block. I'm curious as to what comes to mind if you were to think scary movie.
We get the Jason hockey mask.
There we go. Yeah, see, let's go.
Also, maybe a little bit of Pinhead from Hellraiser.
You were right with Jason, because that matched my answer, so therefore that was the right one. Okay, I'm gonna move on to that mystery square I showed you guys a second ago, but these radiators, they're 420, are very competitively priced, to be honest. They're $150 per radiator, which is, believe it or not, quite cheap. EK rads in that 420 range were damn near $300. So that's pretty competitively priced as far as I'm concerned, which is nice to see. I really want to use this, but I only have, well, I have one broken 5090, which I haven't had the connector put back on yet. I'm not gonna attempt it myself, but this is the one that the connector started to melt barely, and I have two replacement connectors right here, because these are unique that they're reverse. They're like 180 from Remember, the pin goes on the top for most, but this one, the pin goes on the bottom. So I did source these proper connectors. I need them soldered on, but I don't have the skill to solder those on, and I just haven't had the time to get it over to either like Northridge Fix or Northwest Fix wanted to charge me a percentage of the value of the card to fix. And I'm like, no, hell no, I'm not. The work is the same whether I was putting that on a 5060 versus a 5090. It's the same plug, and you're gonna charge me based on the value of the card? No, sorry. Also too, I'm comfortable with sending this to Northridge Fix for a couple of reasons. One, he's local. Two, he's the repair shop that CableMod uses when CableMod was warrantying and fixing all of the melted connectors if you were using the CableMod adapter. So that was his warranty center, and I've seen his work. It's solid, so I'm fine with that. Don't get me down into the conversation of people who like to hate on and love on different repair centers for various reasons. Use whatever one you're comfortable with. Don't at me for it. But this is the Singularity Dominus. It's unique, to say the least. It's kind of like if the Spectre and the EVGA E1 had a baby. It is carbon fiber tubes, which are curved, right, all the way across. As far as I can tell, it looks like they're a single piece all the way up and around. But this is a dual loop capable, dual distro plate with a power board chassis that costs $2,499 US. And I don't know how to build in this because this is all structural and doesn't come off. I know that this window comes off, but I know trying to connect loops and rads and all that through this window is gonna be very tough, even on the bottom. Solid panel. That's to give some more additional rigidity support. But you've got these carbon fiber panels, like they're just sheets of carbon fiber that are all over it. But I have a problem with this. Daniel, I know you're watching. They're all bowing. All over it. So he's got these screws that are holding them down. But here's the crazy part. This lab, this room that we're in, doesn't get a crazy amount of temperature fluctuation. So I had it sitting in here for about 5 days. And the only bowing that I noticed was this one right here, where there's this bowing. But then these other ones started popping up after I put it in the warehouse, where it gets much colder and a much bigger fluctuation in temperature between day and night. I don't know if carbon has a lot of temperature reaction. Like I don't know if it expands and contracts with temperature a lot, but this popped up. Now you might be saying to yourself, well, Jay, can't you just loosen the screws and then it will release some of that? This is compression tension, right? So if it tries to expand, it's expanding in both directions, and that's why it would bow up like that. The holes are exactly the size of the screw itself. So unless the holes were elongated, it can't move. So I would be a little upset if I bought this for $2,500 and it arrived with all of this carbon bowing. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna take it off entirely to see what it looks like underneath, start digging into this and see if I can't get this to like, cause look, that right there, if I push it down, it's flat, right? So I don't know why it's warping like this. It's almost like it needed 3M tape all the way around it or something. It's just sheets of acrylic, it's just sheets of carbon that are put on top of the acrylic. So nothing says I couldn't technically take these off and elongate the hole slightly with the Dremel, but again, at $2,500, you shouldn't be having to do that. There's a color apple thing.
Wow, what's it doing?
I'm wondering if we can truly do the loosening and retightening to get it to straighten itself back out. Anyway, there's a couple other things I want to talk about in this case that needed some modification, if you will, that I've already done that made it better. Little things that I think are easy that Daniel can incorporate on this, but I think that's one of the reasons why he sends it to us is, oh, there's some chips in there. That's the hard part with carbon, man, and the resin layer on top. It's hard to, some roughness right there. Carbon is a hard thing to work with, man. Ask any automotive company that uses carbon. And then I kind of want to dig into this and see how you build in it, because having the whole front of the case not come off here, I'll just show you right now the way you access it is this window comes off. And this is on their website, so technically they have a manual because I've been sent stuff from them before that's like so new, there's no manual and it's like, good luck, you know? It has a whole bag of accessories that came with it too. And that's mostly because it has the power board, so you have to have the cables that go from the power board to the motherboard and all that stuff. But this pops out. Be careful with it because it's acrylic, so it scratches easy. Like you could easily get this replaced in tempered glass or something if you wanted. Put that out of the way. But now I can reach in here and do stuff. But because this is also a distro plate, so you can have tubes going across this will, plus a radiator up here. It fits on the top a 360 or a 280, and in the front a 480 or a 420. So like me personally, I wish it could fit a 420 on the top and a 420 in the front, that'd be perfect. But I feel like I'd rather go 360 top, 480 front. I think that might overall give me more surface area. But I mean, by that point, you're running such big radiators, you'll overcome anything. But this is how you get into here. It does have a vertical mount already on here. This is additional cost that would go into your motherboard. So we talked about that vertical water block that Phil was like, oh, that silver would look sick. And I think that would still look good in here too. The PCB one would match nicely as well because of the power board. But I was kind of hoping like this whole section would come off, but no, because this is structural. This is part of the case right here. So you just have this window to work within, which definitely makes things complicated. You have to take the bottom piece off as well to be able to do things, in my opinion, properly, because there's no, as you can see by looking down inside, there's no separation channel between the vertical mounted power supply, which goes right here, and everything else. So you can't hide your cables. The whole point of using a power board is to make it neater. But fortunately, you have enough space behind the power supply right here too. You can bundle things up nice and tight and zip tie them and hide them behind the motherboard here. Because it just has to go from right here to plugging into the bottom of the power board right there. That's very short cable runs. So you have to get kind of creative on hiding your cables. Also too, you hear the squeaking? That's because I added my own feet. Let me explain why. I just mentioned how you kind of have to get into the bottom here, right? I added these feet. I made them because this is the way it comes. Exposed carbon edges like this are very sharp. There are extra scratches in my table that were not here before I got this case. That's because although there's these feet right here, there, and there, the second you tilt the case to get to the bottom or move it around and you don't tilt it very far, right, that's on the feet. Now listen. And I just put some more scratches in the table right here. Fortunately, this is a worktop. If you had a really nice desk or something, you paid a lot of money for it, up desk, whatever, you scratch it because of that exposed carbon, I'd be pissed. I'd be pissed because you don't have to tilt it very far. Like this is how much tilt you get before it touches the carbon. So I had these, which I got for like $1 something off Amazon, which just happened, they're just grommets, but they just happen to be exactly, and I just put another scratch in the table. Did you hear it go? They just happen to be the right size. So that if you cut off, and I'll do it live, if you just cut off one whole section, don't cut your finger off either, but if you just happen to cut off one whole flap and you leave that middle part sticking up, it absolutely perfectly fits right in there. Which solved my problem and gave more friction so the thing doesn't want to slide around. So these are the other ones that I had made right here. They literally, like they could not snap in there any better. Now that all 4 of those are there, check this out. I even have friction with them on the side like that. So now we've got 6 feet. Which I'd much rather have me doing that than putting nice scratch tagging into my desk. Now I'll go back to taking the fronts off. I just wanted to point that out. This was the first thing I noticed about this case, was I tilted it and it slid on me with nothing in it. So I tilted it, the edge of the carbon tubes hit the table and then just slid out, put scratches, and then if there was stuff in there, it would have slammed down really hard. It's little things like that I'm surprised made it through design. So if I want to caliper this and tell you what size they are, because I'm sure Daniel's gonna be like, what size are those? Because the cool thing is, any critique I've ever had, Daniel was never like, you're doing it wrong. It's, oh, cool. He's always been very receptive. They're 33.55 is what the calipers are saying. Okay, there you go with that. So it was like 33 on the outside and 25. And I bet you anything that's what obviously the inside of this tube is gonna measure. So you can see how the hole right here is slightly off. And that's what's pushing it up, which is creating that compression bow to form. Easy fix for this, make the hole slightly larger. You're using these screws which have a large head on them, so you have some movement, or slightly elongate the holes to account for any manufacturing variance. Or temperature variance if it's really a temperature problem. But just taking out the bottom screws, everything flattened out. Okay, so I didn't take off the top corner right here. That's still just holding it in place, but it's better obviously with the screws out. This is where I would probably have just run the thin, clear, like 3M double-sided tape, like it's like Scotch tape thin. I would just run it along the edges to hold it down. This screw head right here, there's a hole in the carbon to let it fit over the screw head. That's not aligned. So it's teetering on the top of that screw head. Yeah, see? As soon as I get it to fit over that screw head, look what happens. That screw right there is our problem.
Oh, that's the touch sensitive power button.
Okay, so we can't exactly just get rid of it then. Dang it. Daniel, if it seems like I'm being picky, you have to be. This is a very expensive product. This is the kind of stuff that you have to be critical on because it's so expensive. Okay, so here's an example of, it's that power button hole. It doesn't line up. In fact, if Phil gets a straight on shot, it's way misaligned. Right now, it's not so bad. Like it's actually okay without the bottom screw in there. But it seems like as soon as I tighten down the bottom screw, the whole thing bows big time. See? Right when I tighten it, it's like, brr. I'm gonna open up that hole a little bit. And hopefully I don't destroy this piece because it's very thin. So God be with me on this. Safety first. Although this is not a very safety looking workshop. My workshop is still terrible.
The power cord is literally running right next to a circular saw.
The saw's not plugged in.
I know, but it's just
anymore. I was just being a little biscuit. That was easy. Oh my gosh. Look at that. Now that it can clear the hole, it's solid. As Phil said, imagine putting the hole where the hole is supposed to go. Okay, so it's no longer hitting the button, but as soon as I put that screw in, this side bows really badly. And the top screw's not even in yet. So I think I need to enlarge that hole. Actually, I think I need to hit every hole with like one step larger, honestly. And I'm gonna do that now. The button head should be large enough to cover the larger hole, and it is. And it's still bowing. The only thing I can think is that that piece has a natural twist in it on its own, and when you tighten it down, it lifts up the other side. Which is why now like tape needs to hold that down. Because the top isn't even in, so that can't be a problem. That's crazy. Like this is just part of working with carbon, I guess. Now the problem is, as I continue to try and scratch up all this carbon, I can't get to the screw up here. Taking it out at an angle was fine because it was already straight, but trying to put it back in, it just wants to go in an angle and cross thread. So now it looks like I'm gonna have to take this bracket off that holds the tube. There's a lot of work involved in this so far to fix this, but at least I got this flat now. Just had to make sure I kind of like held it in place as I was tightening, because as we discovered, because there's no washer, as you tighten against the carbon, it kind of wants to twist it. And then obviously that torsional force is misaligning it again. Fortunately, the carbon tubes can come off without having to take like the whole case apart or anything. Oh, my feet. My feet fell off. It's like what walkers would be like when we're old.
It looks like the fastest old people walker ever.
All of that to get to this hole. At least I can get there now.
So what do you think the actual fix for this is in production? It would be...
Just make the holes, all I did was make the holes one size bigger and then 3M tape. Like honestly, that's the only difference that I did right here. I didn't even do the tape. Like tape would be nice, but it's not like necessary as long as the holes are larger. Like it's not lifting off at all anymore. So yeah, I think the 3M tape at assembly is the right move. And then some of the holes, as we showed though, are slightly misaligned. So either, you know, adjust that, whatever measuring you guys, that the Singularity manufacturing team, I don't know if this is being made, is, you know, when they're drilling those holes, just double check those jigs, because they're using some sort of jig, obviously, some sort of template. And I think by fixing that would also help. But the 3M tape, I don't think is a expensive or hard step to add for just good measure. But it can't make up for good measure. Looking around the rest of these panels, nothing else is bowing. This one was real bad, fix that right there. And then this one was real bad. It's pretty flat now. That was a lot of work for something that it's an easy fix. Yeah, Daniel, just enlarge those holes a little bit if you're not gonna fix the drilling jig, or fix the drilling jig. But I would still enlarge the hole slightly, because there's gonna be variance, I think, in the carbon. I assume this is probably being done, no, I assume it's being done by the same CNC that's cutting it out. So now we may continue with the rest of it. I need to take the bottom off. So power supply goes horizontal or vertical right here. Cables can be hidden behind it. This is a dual pump option, as you can see. Well, the whole case is dual pump like this. So you are gonna need 2 D5s. You can get the D5s at the same time through them if you want. This is part of our capacitive touch reset and start button. You can access some bits through here. And then in terms of loop order, I'm not sure, to be honest. Like, it's double-sided. So normally everything's on the back or the top and the front, and you have full access in there once you take the side panel off. But because of the fact that we are gonna have coolant flowing through this side as well, you can use this as either a dual pump assisted single loop, so one loop feeds the other loop, or you can use this as a dual loop. And I think naturally for the dual loop, it would make sense to have the top 280/360 rad be the CPU, because the CPUs don't draw anywhere near as much power as the GPU. And then the front 420/480 be the GPU loop, because it'll have the most thermal capacity to cool up to 600 plus watts for 5090. We also have this interesting little crossover that's only one-sided. So I'm not entirely sure why that's like that. Like I don't know why that's there, to be honest. Like, this is where I wish I could see a CAD or a vision from Daniel of what a loop looks like in this thing. In fact, without that bottom piece, it's still really rigid. So this is the only camera angle where Phil can see inside while I'm also pointing stuff out. So this right here.
Dang it!
You also lost the game.
Yeah, all of you guys, y'all go down with me.
Okay, so this feeds the pump right there from the body of the reservoir. This side of the reservoir, which is separated to a plug down there, that's the drain, technically. Could also technically be a return if you want it to. Anyway, into the pump from there, out here, all the way up to this fitting. This is a fill port up here on the other side, like on the back side right there. So that's fill port, out, all the way up here. That could go out to the front rad. So that'd be an easy 90 right into the rad. And then you could go out of the rad right here, because the rad will be up and down, out of the rad right here and into this bar. This bar, you can see on this side, would come all the way over to here. And that looks like it lines up perfectly with that thing I showed you above the CPU over here. So it could go straight across if you wanted it to, which means it could go from there down into CPU and potentially out of CPU into GPU, out of GPU. And then I guess to top rad, and then out of top rad into this bottom part. No, wait, because that's also out from this pump. This is, yeah, I think this is dual loop. This is intended for dual loop. I can't see this being easily, you can make anything, but I don't think this would be easily single loop. I also just realized how much the internal one is bowing. Yeah, this is clearly dual loop. And I think it would be pretty easy to go from CPU loop to the top and then GPU loop to the front. I kind of want to do a build in this, but man, does this kind of seem frustrating. It's neat, but you're just so you're just so limited in reach. Now, obviously the power board, if you guys have never seen a power board, it's Singularity Computers' way of cleaning up cable management. The motherboard would get installed on here, okay? And you have the different ATX layouts that are marked. The power plugs right here on the side do nothing but transfer the power that plugs in at the bottom, which I already showed you. It goes through traces in the board and then out here. So you got native 12 volt 2x6. You've got 1, 2, 3 PCIe plugs. You've got a 4-pin down here for something. 2 EPS power on the right or 2 EPS power on the left, depending on your motherboard, because some of them put them on the right, some put it on the left. It's rarer on the right, but if you're gonna go with like, say, a Threadripper board, they could be on both sides, so then you have both sides. So it makes a very neat power run. So you get these short cables that actually come with it right here. So this is the 24-pin power, the ATX power for the motherboard. You can see it's got the short run, got cable combs on it so it doesn't fillet out. And then it obviously transfers over to the motherboard. At the top, you've got your EPS power. So you got right and left, depending on your motherboard. Usually you don't need right if you're doing something like Threadripper or something like that, which could have up to 8 EPS power on there. I hooked it up to the left because most standard motherboards are on the left. And then there's also a power distribution for 12 volt high power / 2x6. So you can natively plug into the bottom. And then I didn't make this cable look pretty yet, but this would just plug into, I think it's upside down right now. Oh, there we go. So that would plug in there and then that can go to your graphics card, right? So the cables are coming out of the power board going to the components. You just have to feed all the power in the bottom right here from your power supply into the power board. And all the accessories that come with it, these are fan mounts, which have standoffs and pass-throughs technically, because you can put a rear fan right here if you wanted. Interestingly enough, like how there's these round holes at the top. So technically, I think you could put a radiator back here on the backside and pass it through. Potentially, is what it sort of looks like you could do. I don't know if that's what that's intended for, but my brain thinks that that's what that's intended for.
You know what that makes me think of? If you're using that with that case.
Oh my God. You want to talk about overkill. Okay, so these are just more button head screws, like what is putting together the whole damn thing. These are your 2 O-rings. You do have some SATA and Molex power adapters right there. That looks like that's gonna go to what the 4-pin was at the corner that I'm like, that's a 4-pin for something, because as you can see, this is a 4-pin. So that's what that goes to, and they terminate out to 2 SATA with 2 Molex. Probably not gonna be needed most instances of what you're building in this, but whatever, I digress. This is bottom panel angle brackets. So this is everything that's already assembled. Like these are the brackets that are holding on that bottom acrylic piece I showed you. This is the motherboard standoffs. They're 18 millimeters high. So the motherboard definitely stands off the power board quite a bit, but these screw into the power board for the motherboard. Top, front, and rear panels. M4 by 12, 30 pieces. I'm assuming that's gonna be a lot of these screws, right? And then this says feet. 4 feet. Is this what the feet that are already on there, or did I discover I should have done something different? Nope, these are the feet that are already on there. I would assume it probably comes flat packed, you have to build, because like Spectre and stuff was that way, and that's just a shipping saving thing. Anyway, additional RGB cables and obviously fan feed cables, because if you look at the power board, you can see around the perimeter are all sorts of fan headers, ARGB headers. You have these toggle switches here that switch logic between power board logic when it comes to like fan speeds and all that. So you can just turn a dial to turn your fans up and down and have a static speed, or you can switch it over to motherboard logic, which is being fed by this cable right here from the motherboard. Same thing with your RGB. So you can have motherboard controlled RGB or just have the power board sort of do its own RGB thing. We have definitely loved what Singularity has been doing over the years. He started out as just a boutique builder in Australia, just doing customer builds and then making YouTube videos about it, to now creating stuff like this for the industry. And to even come out with new stuff right now in the industry, like I said, other channels would just have you believe is the dog sitting in the room of fire going, this is fine. Not everything is doom and gloom. You can choose some positivity where you want to find it. It's easy to sit here and yell at clouds without solutions, but we're gonna continue to do and talk about fun, exciting things around here in 26, because until you can't go to the store and buy anything anymore, I'm not talking about being expensive, but until it's physically not there anymore, we're gonna continue talking about cool stuff like this. I'm about to ask if you guys want me to do a build in this. I know what the answer is gonna be. You guys are gonna say yes. It's gonna be a challenge. especially considering their own radiators they sent me, only one will fit in here. I need a 280 for the top. So I only saw 360 and 420 on their website. I'd have to source some different rads for this. But could be a fun, interesting build. It definitely, I think, will be a challenge. I'm not new to dual loop builds. Skunkworks was always dual loop, but this is gonna be a whole different approach to it. I've never done anything like this before, so I think it can be fun. And yeah, so anyway, those have been some of my critiques. Obviously, I think Daniel will probably take those to heart. I don't think I'm off base here. I think everything I've experienced and kind of complained about is reasonable. But it's 2,500 bucks. This is where you guys have to comment down in the comments below. Is it worth it? Or should you go buy some memory with that money? Here I am doom and glooming like everyone else. I'm just gonna go start a rant channel.